Good morning, everybody. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Raj Maharaj. I'm a captain with the Milpitas Police Department. Assisting me today will be Lieutenant John Torres. And throughout the presentation, we'll have an opportunity to submit questions regarding the ALPR program. And we'll stop, and if there's any questions submitted, Lieutenant Torres will read those questions, and I'll be happy to answer those questions or address any comments. I am going to turn off my video, and we will proceed with the presentation. So why are we meeting today, you ask? It's to discuss the addition of stationary ALPRs to our current mobile ALPR fleet that we have been using for approximately 13 years. We want input and collaboration on how the ALPR policy will be updated with the addition of stationary ALPRs. Address any privacy issues, issue concerns, and explaining how stationary ALPRs will benefit the community by adding another tool to help solve crimes, impact criminal activity, and make our community safer. We will also talk about data retention and data release. As I mentioned before, anytime during the presentation, you may email questions to public comment at ci.milpitas.ca.gov. And as we receive those questions and comments, we'll address those as we move forward. I'm going to leave this slide up for a few seconds so you can see the email address before I continue. All right, what is an ALPR? ALPR is a system of cameras with supporting software and server engines that capture license plate information and instantly compare the license plate number to a DOJ database of wanted criminals or persons of interest. ALPR cameras can scan thousands of license plates in the same amount of time it takes an actual person to scan a few license plates. When a license plate image is compared against a list of wanted vehicles and matched through DOJ databases, an alert is signaled. And the screen shows the vehicle and the reason for the alert, such as a crime, missing person, or an ongoing investigation. ALPRs automatically provide the location, date, time, and a photograph of the vehicle. The data is then uploaded to a server. ALPRs are small, easy to maneuver, and typically mounted to street poles, street lights, highway overpasses, trailers, or attached to police vehicles. ALPRs are commonly used in both public and private sectors, including law enforcement agencies, HOAs, apartment complexes, gas stations, and parking management companies. These images show how stationary ALPR cameras are affixed within the community and their looks. As you can see, they're not too large and will not take away from the beauty of Milpitas. John, has there been any comments or anything submitted at this point?
No, there's no comments right now.
Community benefits for ALPR. So how does the community benefit from ALPRs? Amber alerts, missing persons, criminal warrants, persons of interest, auto theft, crime trend, geo-monitoring, criminal investigations, and modern technology has actually reduced the cost of ALPRs. So stationary ALPRs will allow our officers and dispatch staff to receive notifications of a suspect vehicle entering a certain area of the city and provide officers the opportunity to capture criminals or deter criminal behavior before crimes are committed. As our officers receive these alerts in their vehicles, they can verify the information and take appropriate action, such as an enforcement stop, contact the person, or they can access the secure ALPR database to help identify suspects. The stationary ALPRs will be another tool to assist our personnel in impacting criminal activity, reducing crime trends, and making Milpitas a safer community. Modern ALPR technology allows for systems to be run on solar power, electrical connection, and overall size of them to be fixed almost anywhere within the community with reduced infrastructure costs. How stationary ALPRs will help the police department benefit the community Well, a lot of crimes reported to us lack suspect information or investigative leads to reduce the probability of identifying a suspect. Many of these crimes involve the use of vehicles, and having stationary LPRs in areas where crime trends spike will allow the capture of license plate data to assist investigation to identify suspects. Stationary LPRs can be a vital tool in reducing crime and make criminals think twice before targeting Milpitas victims. I'd like to talk about some recent cases that we've used LPR data to help solve the crimes. In May 28 of 2018, an attempted homicide occurred at a business on West Calaveras Boulevard, and the suspect fled prior to our arrival. Witnesses provided two variations of license plates and mixed descriptions of the suspect's car. Detectives searched the license plate information and provided by witnesses in our LPR database and located a recent match that confirmed the license plate. Detectives were able to utilize that information to help identify the suspect. The suspect was taken into custody the same day as he slept in the vehicle later that night. On December 6, 2019, around 4 p.m., an unknown suspect stole a package from the front porch of a residence. The homeowner received an alert on their smart security camera and confronted the suspect as he ran to a red two-door Volkswagen, which was captured on the video surveillance as it drove away. Detectives contacted the victim and obtained a partial license plate, which they searched the LPR database and located the suspect vehicle with an image confirming it was the same vehicle. On December 12, 6 days later, detectives issued that suspect a citation for petty theft. And most recently, with the help of a privately owned HOA LPR system, our detectives were able to identify and arrest 4 violent criminals, and plus take several guns off our streets. This might not have happened without the help of the ALPR information from that HOA database. Again, the LPR database helps solve crimes and identify suspects that otherwise may not have occurred without the LPR information. So I'm going to discuss our crime stats from 2019. Our 29 crime trends that impact the community on a regular basis are residential burglaries, robberies, commercial burglaries, auto burglaries, and vehicle thefts. And last year, our residential burglaries were up 5%, robberies were up 7%, commercial burglaries were down 39%, auto burglaries were up 39%, and vehicle theft was down 19%. The majority of these cases involve suspects using the vehicle and having stationary LPRs, would offer our officers another tool to solve these crimes. Because, as mentioned before, the majority of the time, the victims and witnesses do not capture the needed information to assist in identifying suspects. As described in some of our case studies, a license plate is a key to solving crimes. The Milpitas Police Department currently has 4 ALPRs that are attached to 4 police vehicles. These vehicles capture license plate data as officers drive them throughout the city, responding to calls for service and fulfilling their other responsibilities to the community. Stationary LPRs can assist capture license plate data at one location and have greater impact at a specific crime trend area. It has become a common practice in many Bay Area communities for police departments to use ALPR technology to help capture criminals, which impacts crime trends. So how does the system work? Officers log on to the current ALPR system, which creates an audit trail regarding their use and information viewed. As vehicle pass by ALPR cameras, officers will receive an alert on wanted vehicles. And those alerts include a GPS location, date and time of the ALPR read, the image of the license plate, and an image of the vehicle. This provides an officer an opportunity to verify that the information is correct before taking any enforcement action, if any at all. Both the mobile and stationary systems provide instant notification to our personnel working, and allows for them for immediate follow-up, which could include locating a stolen vehicle, a felony vehicle, a missing person, to name a few. The LPR database will also offer the ability to search partial license plates and the vehicle descriptions to conduct follow-up investigations and possibly identify suspects to clear cases. The LPR database is used to help identify suspects, which will assist the police department in lowering crime rates and increasing the possibility to make an arrest. The utilization of ALPR cameras has become an industry standard for law enforcement. In Santa Clara County, all 13 law enforcement agencies use either mobile or stationary or a combination of both. Again, Having both a mobile and stationary ALPR system will allow our officers the ability to identify more suspects while impacting quality of life issues within the city, which ultimately will make Milpitas a safer community to live in. At no time does the ALPR reads capture personal information on the driver or the occupants of the vehicle. Again, this is a list of agencies that are using ALPR cameras. And again, it's become an industry standard for law enforcement, and all 13 law enforcement agencies in the county currently use ALPR databases. Again, if there's any point in this presentation you have a question or comment, please submit them to public comment at ci.milpitas.ca.gov. And John, I'm going to reach back out to you. Has there been any questions or comments at this point?
No, we've received none at this time.
I'll leave this up for a few minutes in case someone needs to write it down. All right, stationary ALPR cameras. The Milpitas Department would like to install a stationary ALPR system that can be deployed anywhere and moved as needed with the approval of the chief of police or his or her designee when crime trends change or move to another part of the city. The ALPR system should be able to be deployed using solar power or electrical connection, and having such capabilities will continuously benefit the police department in fighting crime trends while helping make Milpitas safer. Traditional ALPR cameras. Pictured here is a traditional ALPR system, which requires elaborate infrastructure with connection and maintenance costs. Modern ALPR systems operate on fraction of the cost, which includes service connection, maintenance, and upgraded equipment. We have identified a vendor for a free 60-day trial, and we will evaluate their product and determine if the product will benefit the community and our service delivery. The Milpitas Police Department stationary ALPR deployment plan. The city of Milpitas will be testing 20 stationary ALPR cameras in and around high crime areas such as strip malls and capture license plate data in our major ingress/egress points of the city. If the Milpitas Police Department finds the stationary ALPR system as a valuable resource to the community and the department, then we will retain the stationary ALPR system. Any questions at this point, John?
Yes. You give me 1 second and I can read this from an email we just received. This question comes from Conrad, and he'd like to know how many locations are initially being planned for stationary ALPRs.
Great question, Conrad. Like I mentioned just previously, we have 20 cameras to test. They'll be positioned in high crime areas like our strip malls and major ingresses and egresses through the county, through the city. So we're looking at an area on the, let me go back to that map if I can. If you look at this map, we're looking at the Calaveras corridor, the southeast portion of the city through Landis Piedmont area, and then Great Mall area, and then hopefully down by Ranch Drive and Barber Lane. So those areas are typically impacted by auto burglaries and people coming into our city to commit crimes, and having cameras in those locations should help us identify more suspects and clear more cases. Anything else, John?
No, that was the only question for right now.
Milpitas PD ALPR policy. The Milpitas Police Department has a policy on the use of ALPRs due to our mobile ALPR system. And we just wanted to go over it with you and answer any questions you might have about the policy, because it is important to us to have community input and collaborate together as we look to add stationary ALPRs. This policy will cover both mobile and stationary ALPRs. The purpose of the ALPR policy is to hold the police department accountable and provide guidance for the capture, storage, and use of ALPR data and protecting privacy rights. ALPR may be used in conjunction with any routine patrol operation, criminal investigation, canvassing areas around homicides, shootings, and other major crimes. ALPR data may contain confidential information and sometimes an image of the occupants of the vehicle. And the department understands the importance of established privacy rights of the public. And these ALPRs are only used in public right-of-ways and areas where the police have the right to be. But they will not be used for the sole purpose of monitoring individual activities. Additionally, in accordance to the California Values Act, ALPR data may not be used for the purpose of immigration enforcement or similar crimes. No department personnel shall access the ALPR database unless authorized to do so for official investigations. The Technical Services Division captain is responsible for training, assuring compliance to privacy laws, and access and data retention. And then the purging of that data. We currently retain the data for 366 days, and then it's purged, unless it becomes, or we believe it will become part of, will become evidence in a criminal or civil trial, or it's subject to discovery requests or other lawful action to produce those records. No member of the department shall operate ALPR equipment or access the data without completing department training. The ALPR data is safeguarded and protected by both procedural and technological means, with system audits completed by the Technical Services Division captain or their designee to make sure our staff adhere to our policy. The department used to store ALPR data for 5 years. And again, taking privacy concerns for the community into consideration, we altered our practice and only retain the ALPR data for 1 year. But we are constantly evaluating our retention periods to make sure we're adhering to privacy concerns. This concludes my presentation of our current ALPR system and how stationary ALPRs will benefit the community. Again, we want to make sure we're addressing any concerns and collaborating with our community regarding the use of the ALPRs. Now that you have heard our presentation on the use of ALPRs and our policy, is there any questions or concerns you think should be added to our policy? Feel free to submit those questions to those email address that I provided you. And we'll stay online here for a while to address any questions or comments that come through. John, has there been anything else added at this point?
There's no other questions that have been submitted at this time.
We'll continue to stay online here to address any comments and concerns. And if we did not address your concerns, or if you have any follow-up questions, you can email me directly at my email. It's rmaharaj@ci.milpitas.ca.gov. You can email Lieutenant John Torres. His email is provided there. It's jtorres@ci.milpitas.ca.gov. Or you can submit those comments to public comment at ci.milpitas.ca.gov. Once this presentation is over, you can still continue to submit those questions, like I said, to myself or Lieutenant Torres, and we'll post a question and answer post on our Nextdoor for the community to evaluate. We also have another scheduled presentation on June 10th. I believe that's a Thursday evening.
So we do have one more question that just came in, and I can read that right now for us.
Go ahead, John.
So this is a follow-up question from Conrad, who had sent the question asking about locations. And his question is, how will these be funded? Whether this will be city budget, grant money, or both?
Another great question, Conrad. So we're going to be using grant funding that was provided by Kansen Chu when he provided us the auto burglary grant, and that's where that funding for this ALPR camera will be funded if our trial period is successful.
And we have another question that just came in from a Barbara, and I'll read it as it appears here. She would like to know if there will be a camera on Jacqueline Road And one of her other comments is that she likes this idea.
Thank you for your feedback, Barbara. At this point, we do not have a plan for a camera on Chatham Road, but this system can be expanded on. But again, we want to try the 20 cameras at first, see if it's going to be beneficial for the community, help us reduce crime trends, and help us increase our arrests total based on the information we glean from the cameras. And if it is successful, that is something the administration will review. And if we need to add more cameras, we will. I know the northern part of the city is not covered by as many cameras as we like. And again, we will evaluate this as we move forward. Again, the overall goal is to make sure the community is safe and it's a benefit to the community as we move forward. Anything else, John, at this point?
There's no other questions that have come in other than the last two that I just read.
All right, we'll leave it open for a minute, and then we'll see if anything else comes in. I just had an email sent to me from a David Crump. And I'm just going to read his comment. First and foremost, I want to show my appreciation for MPD. You have done an outstanding job taking care of Milpitas. However, I find trying to implement ALPRs throughout the city of Milpitas ludicrous. Due to the current situation with pandemic and the shortfall of money in Milpitas, let alone California, I do not understand how this thought could be brought up. Where is the money coming from for this to happen? According to what I've heard, these LPRs are already in use, installed on your vehicles. I viewed a city meeting last week, and I understand MPD needs a new police station due to the growth and cost of replacing the new building. That I understand. However, we do not have the money to implement throughout the city. Besides, most of the crimes in Milpitas is from non-residents. Thank you for your comments, Mr. Crum. Again, this will be paid through a grant fund that was provided to us from the state of California regarding fighting auto burglary trends within not just Milpitas, but the region. Several other cities received that same grant funding. So this is not coming from the city budget. It's actually grant funded. And hopefully that answers your question.
There's a follow-up email that I received from Barbara, who had asked earlier about cameras being on Jacklet Road, and her email just states that this is access to our schools. To please consider this, and entry to a community that needs to stay safe.
Thank you, Barbara. We'll put that down in our notes, and as we expand the system, or if we reevaluate where our deployment plan will be, we'll keep that in mind. Thank you. Again, if you have questions or comments regarding the LPR system, again, you can email me directly at rmaharaj@ci.milpitas.ca.gov, Lieutenant Torres at jtorres@ci.milpitas.ca.gov, or submit a public comment at ci.milpitas.ca.gov. I'm going to go back and just place our map of where the planned LPRs will be placed at this point.
And while you're doing that, I'll read a follow-up email that we received from Conrad. His email states, "This will be a great additional tool to protect the safety of the residents and businesses of Milpitas, and I fully support this program."
Thank you for your comments, Conrad. So like I mentioned before, this is going to be a trial of a 60-day period. And based on our current crime trends, this is why we picked these locations for the trial period. Again, these cameras that we're trying are very small and easily moved to other locations. So as things change within the city or the needs for the community or the department change, these cameras can be moved relatively quickly to address those concerns. Again, the ultimate goal here is to make sure our city is safe and trying to impact those crime trends. We're going to leave this up running till about 10:30. And if we don't have any additional comments or concerns, we'll end the presentation at 10:30.
We have one more question that came in through the email address. And this is a follow-up question from Barbara, and she would like to know, when does the trial period start?
Great question, Barbara. The trial period will most likely start in the first week of July. We're still working with the vendor to work out the plans to make sure the sites that we've identified will work with the equipment. And once we do all that, we will also be looking at our policy, make sure our policy is all up to date with any concerns from the community. We have addressed any input from the community before we complete our policy, and then we should be running in the first week of July. All right, John, I'm going to reach out to you one more time. If we have nothing else coming in, we're going to conclude this presentation.
There's no other questions that we have received through our email address.
All right, I just want to take the opportunity to say thank you for tuning in and looking at watching our presentation. And again, if you have any additional comments or feedback, I've provided you my email address, Lieutenant Torres' email address. So feel free to submit those emails to us and we'll follow up with you. Again, thank you very much and have a great day.